Where tensions have spiked pretty sharply in the Asia-Pacific after the US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. And Beijing has now hit back with military exercises that include live fire drills in at least about 6 zones surrounding Taiwan. The drills have kicked off in the waters of the coast of Taiwan and are expected to continue for a span of 5 days till the 8th of August. These will include the long-range live ammunition shooting. They're also expected to take place in multiple zones encircling Taiwan, at some points within just 20 kilometers of the island's shore. A Chinese military source has also told media that the exercises are being staged in preparation for actual combat. When compared with the live fire zones during the third Taiwan Strait crisis that took place in 1995-96, the areas that are being designated this time appear much closer to mainland Taiwan. The Chinese state media Global Times has also described the exercises as simply unprecedented and has confirmed that missiles will fly over Taiwan for the very first time. Now, for its part, Taipei has condemned the drills. It has described it as an attempt to unilaterally undermine regional stability. The Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen has said that the country is facing deliberately heightened military threats from Beijing. In the latest, the Taiwanese Defense Ministry has now confirmed that an unidentified aircraft had flown over the Kinmen Island, adding that they were probably drones and that it had fired flares to drive them away. This after Taiwan yesterday confirmed that nearly about 27 Chinese warplanes had already entered into its air defense zone and that it had scrambled its jets to warn them off. Now, Taiwan's Maritime and Port Bureau issued warnings to ships to avoid the areas that were being used by the Chinese drills, with the Taiwanese cabinet confirming that the drills will now disrupt nearly about 18 international routes passing through its flight information region. Now, the escalation in the region, remember, has taken place after the US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi made an unscheduled trip as a part of her Asia-Pacific tour, even after repeated warnings by Beijing against her doing so. Now, the senior American Democrat's visit was not approved by President Joe Biden, who had earlier categorically stated that the Pentagon had advised that it was not a good idea to visit Taiwan amidst the heightened tensions in the region. All right, now to give us more insights in terms of what's exactly being attempted by the Americans here and as to why this visit by Nancy Pelosi is so significant, we're joined in by Mr. Stephen Golub, who's an international affairs expert, who's joining us live on this broadcast. Mr. Golub, this is a visit that has been a subject of a lot of controversy. Nancy Pelosi did visit Taiwan, contrary to what was being speculated earlier, and now China is resorting to these live-fire military drills. You know, the question I want to ask you is, how far do you think the Chinese would want to, in some ways, escalate this crisis?
Well, I think they, in and of itself, as you pointed out, what they're doing now is unprecedented, coming so close to the Taiwanese territorial waters. Even back when there was a crisis in 1995-96, they didn't go this far. I think they don't want to spark a war with Taiwan or the United States, but these things can happen once buildups like this, if they get out of control or if there's an unintentional collision or encounter. More broadly, what they're doing goes beyond what you had the time to briefly describe. They've already cyber attacked the Taiwanese Defense Ministry and other government ministries. What they're doing will, in and of itself, could well interfere with shipping and trade in and out of Taiwan for 3 days. And also, even if they don't go farther than this, it still is, in effect, a preparation for a potential invasion down the line. One other point I'd emphasize is that what China will do may well extend beyond the immediate issue or confrontation with Taiwan.
Right.
It could well decide, okay, we're going to help out Russia more in terms of trade and economic and military aid regarding Ukraine in response to Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan.
You know, I think that's very interestingly put. The question that a lot of people are also now asking is, you know, Xi Jinping, is this a loss of face for him? Because China had been categorical that the Americans should not play with fire on the issue of Taiwan. They had said that Nancy Pelosi should not visit Taiwan, but the visit did happen. Although it was not officially declared, she did make a stop in Taiwan. How do you think this impacts Xi Jinping?
That's a great question. It certainly, look, all of us, no matter what culture we're in, we can suffer or be annoyed by a loss of face. But it is something particularly strong in certain cultures, including China's. On top of the cultural issue or the personal issue of a loss of face of Nancy Pelosi's visit being almost kind of a slap in the face to President Xi. He has a big party congress coming up later this year in which he'll secure an unprecedented third term in power. He doesn't want to seem weak going into that. Now, having said that, none of this is to justify the Chinese response. Taiwan's a successful democracy, a successful economy. In some ways, it puts China to shame. Nancy Pelosi has a long-standing history of standing up for human rights in China and standing up for matters of principle. But to get back to your question, yes, it does put him on the spot even more than, given the timing of this and this party congress coming up, even more than if this visit had occurred at possibly other times.
All right, my last question to you, Mr. Golub, is what is the United States trying to achieve through this visit? Because quite clearly at this point of time, the tensions between the United States and China are pretty high, and this does not ease tensions in any way. Where does the United States go from here?
Well, in terms of what the United States is trying to achieve, that's a great question. I don't think the United States is trying to achieve anything. This is more Nancy Pelosi's personal agenda to do this. President Biden, as you pointed out, and U.S. military and foreign policy officials didn't want her to do this. The timing is bad. The preparation of it was poor. I believe there was very poor, if any, consultation with other major players in the region, such as your own government in India. So what was she thinking? I don't think she was thinking too well, and it doesn't represent the overall U.S. administration thinking. Where do we go from here? I think the United States is going to try to do its best to make sure this doesn't escalate, and hope that a few months from now, when, by the way, the U.S. and India are going to hold joint military high-altitude exercises, previously scheduled, purely coincidental, that a few months from now this will all have blown over, but we'll have to see.
All right, we'll of course have to see. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Stephen Golub, for joining us and getting us all those insights there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.